Subnautica has been one of my favorite games of all time. I played the original in its early beta stages and the full game multiple times, and I enjoyed it every single time. Below Zero was okay, but I have really high expectations for Subnautica 2. And finally, the early access is here. Huge thank you to ParisSTR for donating the game to me. You are a legend. But alas, unfortunately, as of right now, the vanilla experience is not that great. They switched to Unreal Engine 5 and the game on epic settings looks absolutely insane, but it's not running well at all. And the only upscaler we get as AMD and I guess Intel GPU users is TSR. That's it. Now AMD also dropped a bombshell yesterday as of the filming of this video, announcing FSR 4.1 coming to RDNA 3 GPUs, so that's 3000 series this July, but RDNA 2 support will not arrive until 2027. So what can we do until then? Don't worry, I got you. Hey guys, welcome back to GeekJ, where we make tech, tutorials and gaming simpler and better. Today we're going to take Subnautica 2, ditch that TSR upscaler and get FSR4 running on officially unsupported GPUs. So we will start by looking at what the game gives us out of the box, test the built-in options and then transform the experience with DLSS-Swapper, OptiScaler-Client and a few clicks in the OptiScaler overlay. So let us dive in. And that pun was absolutely intended. Alright, so let's check out what settings the game gives us. And I'm gonna go into settings and then graphics. As you can see, the graphics settings have some nice options, and I have gone ahead and basically turned off motion blur over here, and I did turn on the underwater blur, as it gives a bit more realism while playing. So the game defaults to TSR as the upscaling method, and then at the bottom we have two other options over here. TSR frame rate target, which unfortunately only gives us two choices between 30 and 60, and that's it. No option to disable it. And the TSR upscaling quality, which is set to native, and then we get access to quality, balanced, performance, and then we can go custom and do the minimum and maximum internal resolution. Now, to make things a bit simpler for our testing, I will use the quality presets and we will focus on the epic preset here, as it makes a really big difference compared to high visually. So we will now load into the game, and yeah, you will see like the game looks really beautiful. So let me hit apply over here, and we will go into play single player. And I have created a save game over here on my single player just for this reason. It is right after the crash, I believe. So this is how the game looks and performs. As you can see, we do have that 60 FPS experience, but it doesn't feel smooth to begin with. It looks fine, but it doesn't feel smooth, and I do see some kind of weirdness. But let's just get out of here. You can see this is the initial scene of the game. I don't want to, spoil anything, because this game, usually, especially with the first Subnautica, the story was captivating. I was really impressed by that. So yeah, it does look beautiful. Let's go for a dive over here. And with my setup right now, we are sure getting, 60 FPS. But if you ask me at what cost, even though we have set this to TSR native, and in my settings, you can see this over here, TSR, and this is the target frame rate, and this is the native upscaling quality. So there is no upscaling shenanigans going on. The problem is that, as you can see, even in the explanation text over here, it says that native will go down to 50% internal resolution and max out at 100%. So that's how they're doing it for some reason in this game. So it's not really a great implementation in my opinion. Despite all of these shenanigans, the game does look cool, but I do get weirded out. And if we go back in and we stay over here, you can see that the game looks, and without dying, I'm gonna try to finish my sentence, but yeah, the image looks very grainy. There is a pixel shimmering, unfortunately, there's aliasing, and the image quality drops regularly just to accommodate that TSR target frame rate setting. And I will take this quick swim over here just to decide like what our benchmark route will be, and I think I'm just gonna go under this little coral cave thing. Then we're gonna go back to the pod, and yeah, you can see we're hovering around 57 to 62 FPS. That's the average I'm getting so far. But yeah, unfortunately, if we check out how the game looks, it does drop its quality just to accommodate those 60 FPS targets, and even the textures start looking blurry, and I do get shimmering, I do get that aliasing over here. If I go super close to the seaweed thingy, it's gonna get better at some point, but in general, yeah, I do get a lot of these issues. If I look into the distance, that doesn't look that great. I don't know if the YouTube compression is going to help with this, but yeah, the game starts looking weird. Even the surface of the sea over here, the water, starts looking super bad at some point. That like there's a lot of pixelation, shimmering, smearing, like even aliasing I can see on the reflections. Like it gets really bad. But yeah, unfortunately this is what we have to deal with. The bubble has a lot of aliasing, and this is TSR native basically, but it does drop down to 50% of our resolution just to accommodate that 60 FPS on epic settings. And basically, yeah, the game really looks beautiful, but this TSR upscaling implementation is not going to do it any favors. And as we can see so far, to keep those 60 FPS, the engine does sacrifice a lot. Resolution drops, textures starting to look really low resolution as well. It's not great in general. But to keep our testing consistent, we will try our typical presets here, quality and performance, and then we will take a look as how the game looks without TSR, as well as we do have the option to completely disable this. So let's go into settings. I'm gonna go over here into quality, as you can see, and it will kind of hover between 50 and 75% just to accommodate that 60 FPS target, as we mentioned before. So let's see how this looks. And this, surprisingly, on TSR quality, does seem to have a sharper image, and I think this is because the GPU gets a bit more breathing room, and UE5 really likes upscalers, and it can give us more graphical fidelity while maintaining those 60 FPS. But let us like dive into the water. I'm gonna test the surface of the water first. We do still get, yeah, that pixelation, aliasing and stuff, but I think it does look a little bit better in some occasions. But anyway, let's dive in over here, and we're gonna go through our route. The corals do look a little bit better, like the textures do not look that low resolution as before, and that seaweed doesn't shimmer as much. So going to quality kind of helped the whole situation. Let me take a breath over here, then we're gonna go through here. This was our original route. Then I'm gonna try going back. Yeah, it does look a little bit better. Over here, this little thing does look a bit more pixely. We did get a 60 FPS experience, and I think we did get some higher fidelity stuff, but in some other occasions we did get lower resolution stuff. Let's try TSR performance and see how that looks, which is gonna be just 50% across the board. And already I can see a big yikes over here. Unfortunately, I don't know how this will translate on YouTube with the compression algorithms going crazy, but it already looks bad, unfortunately. We are getting 70 FPS right now, but everything does look pretty rough because everything is at 50% resolution. Yeah, so performance looks good at above 85 frames per second, but the image quality and graphical fidelity go completely out the window. The whole image looks smeary. There is a lot of aliasing. Textures look like we have applied a layer of Vaseline all over our monitor over here. So yeah, the shimmering doesn't look good. Like if I look at that seaweed over here or those coral seaweed thingies over here, there's a lot of shimmering going on. Everything that is moving just looks awful, especially over there in the distance. As you can see, there's a lot of shimmering, pixelation, a lot of aliasing, unfortunately, because we are at 50% resolution. And yeah, there's a lot of shimmering in the distance over there. This is a really bad experience. I would not play like this. If we go close to something, it's more difficult to distinguish, but everything in the distance kind of looks bad. But yeah, 100% I would not recommend TSR performance over here. So let's turn this off. I'm gonna go with off, and you will see that we're just going with epic settings. I'm guessing there's gonna be an anti-aliasing solution in the post-processing, but yeah, it's set to epic, so I'm guessing this is what we are getting over here. And we are getting really nice image quality, but the performance takes a pretty big hit. Everything is super sharp. Even on TSR native, there was something off and the image fidelity was not what it should have been. I don't know how else to describe it, but you guys saw by yourself that it would go from 50% to 100% resolution, and the game would decide by itself just to keep those 60 FPS going. And I would not recommend anyone to play with a 30 FPS target. That's kind of insane. Very big performance hit. We went below 50 FPS immediately, and we see like a 45 FPS over here inside the little rescue pod. But yeah, let's jump in and see how the experience is. Let's check out the water. And yeah, the water looks a lot better now. Of course, there is some pixelation on the textures of the foam of the sea, which is kind of understandable, I guess. But let's see how everything else looks. We are at 47, 45 FPS. And at the same time, I am recording. So in my own testing, I got around 50 FPS over here. But yeah, everything looks crystal clear. We do hit like 39 FPS right now, but the game looks amazing. Like, look at that. All that detail. That's so impressive. And the problem, I think, is like these numbers would be okay if we had access to any kind of frame generation, but that is nowhere to be found in the options, even with TSR set to on or off. Like if we go into the settings, you can see we have no option for frame generation over here. And then if I go with upscaling method TSR and apply this, again, we get no options for frame generation, unfortunately. So yeah, let's fix that. So as always, we will start with a channel favorite, DLSS-Swapper. This is an open source, extremely useful piece of software you can find on GitHub. And we will use this to update our DLSS binaries to their latest versions. So I'm gonna click on Subnautica 2 over here, and as you can see, we can click on the upscaler itself. We can go up to 310.6, which is the latest version, and just click on this swap button. And I'm gonna do the same for ray reconstruction and for the frame generation. And the really handy thing about this software is that if anything goes wrong, you can come back in here, click this swirling little icon over here. If we go into any of these, and you can see it says original DLL, you just click on that and boom, you're back to the default upscaler that the game ships with. So if there is any kind of problem, it keeps a backup and then you can just roll back to it. Super useful. So I'm gonna close out of this and exit. And now we can use the one-click wonder called OptiScaler-Client. And by the way, you can find links for everything we're using in the description below. So now this is really simple. We click on the manage icon over here, obviously under our Subnautica game cover. Then we're going to select the 0.9.1 latest OptiScaler version. As of the filming of this video, this is the latest version. Obviously in the future it's going to be a higher number, okay? Then we're going to choose the FSR4.0.2c, which is, as of the filming of this video again, the latest FSR4 Int 8 modded upscaler DLL version that the OptiScaler team themselves have developed. And we're very thankful for this. And I would suggest you do this only if you're on unsupported hardware, just like me, which is RDNA 2. I'm on a 6800 XT. If you're on RDNA 3, which is 7000 series, you can also use this. If you're on RDNA 4, you get access to a far better upscaler. So you wouldn't go with the FSR Int 8, you would go with the pure FSR 4.1, but you would still need OptiScaler to inject the upscaler you want into your game if it's not supported, because this game doesn't support any kind of FSR, so you cannot do it through the override of the driver that Adrenaline software offers. We're going to keep the dxgi.dll as our injection method, and OptiPatcher we're going to leave at the rolling latest version, and then we're just going to click auto install over here. And basically that's it. We just exit out of this and we're gonna launch the game. And now if we did everything correctly, we should see an OptiScaler pop up at the bottom left of our screen, and we do over here, so that means I did stuff correctly. If you do not see the pop-up, I would recommend you exit out of the game and rewatch the video, as you probably missed something. So before we load our save, we will go into our settings and then graphical settings over here. And as you can see now, we have one extra option. We're going to select DLSS as our upscaling method. As you can see, we do have access to DLAA, but we're not really interested in that. We have access to quality, balance, performance, and ultra performance. So we're going to set this to quality and we're going to apply these settings. Now, again, do not load your save game. Just hit the insert key on your keyboard and you will see this menu over here. This is the OptiScaler overlay, and from here we will select the FSR3.x as our upscaler, and we will click on the change upscaler button over here. It's gonna take some time the first time you do this, so just be patient with it. Then below that, we must make sure that the FSR4.0.2c is selected over here from the list. Now, if you get any kind of flashing on your screen, like white screen flashing and stuff like that, you can fix it by clicking on this non-linear sRGB input. As soon as you click on it, it's going to be fixed if you face that bug. If you don't face that bug, you don't need to check that box. When you check this box, it's going to automatically check some other boxes. You don't need to worry about that. If it fixes your problem, that is your solution. Now, we're not done yet. At the frame generation section over here, we will select the DLSS-G via Streamline on the input side. And then on the output side, we're going to select the XeFG option. And notice the red font warning over here that we need to restart the game for these changes to take effect. But before we do that, a bit further down, we will uncheck the use FSR inputs option because we do want to use the DLSS inputs, which are more often than not a lot higher quality than any of the other inputs like FSR or XeSS. So we will uncheck this, save INI, and close. And now we can safely quit out of the game. And we are basically going to reload it. So now when we reload back into our game, we again go into our graphics settings immediately, and we make sure that we select, now that we have access to it, the DLSS Frame Generation over here, and we set it to on. And then DLSS Frame Generation mode, instead of auto, we're also going to set it to on, and we're going to apply these changes. Then once again, we're going to hit the insert key on our keyboard over here, and first of all, we're going to check the active box over here under the Frame Generation XeFG now section. And after we activate this, I would suggest you set your frame rate limit to 3 frames lower than the max refresh rate of your monitor if you want to take advantage of the latency reduction technologies. So let's go on ahead and do that. My monitor is a 165 hertz monitor, so we're going to go with 162, and I'm going to hit the apply limit over here. And if you get a yellow font warning just like me over here, to restart your game, make sure you first click on the save INI over here and then the close button, and then we're gonna restart our game one last time basically. So if you want, you can make sure this is working by hitting the insert key over here, and as you can see, we are using the input of DLSS as our upscaler, but we're not using DLSS, as I say in all of my videos, but still get questions about it. This is AMD or Intel hardware. We cannot physically use DLSS. This is injecting FSR4 through the DLSS binary, and you can see this is 4.0.2c. It has activated the frame generation XeFG. We have a green font saying this is on. We are utilizing XeLL, which is the XeSS latency reduction technology, and everything is working fine. So we can basically load our save game over here, and we can now experience the game with the highest quality possible and with amazing frame rates of 100 FPS on average. And obviously FSR4 quality looks amazing, but we're gonna test, performance as well. And if we feel like it, we can even test ultra performance. But yeah, the smoothness is out of this world. Very, very nice. The fidelity is on another level. But anyway, let's jump in and do our little rounds. Everything looks super sharp. There's no comparison. Like, the graphical fidelity is on another level. Even the textures are immaculate. Like, they're looking amazing over here. Everything looks fine. There's no simmering, no ghosting. Super, super nice. And let me go do our little rounds over here. Let me take a breather before we die. But yeah, as you can see, on average, I was above 100 FPS. Obviously, disclaimer again, I am recording with OBS in very high settings, though that has a big hit in performance. So usually I lose part of my performance when recording these videos. So your experience might be basically better, like 10 FPS better than mine in general. But yeah, if we tap on insert, you can see we are upscaling from 720p, which is, the quality preset over here. So let's go on ahead and go into settings and then set this. When you change this for the first time, it's going to take some time. So don't click like crazy all over the place. Just wait for it to change the presets. And once you've set the preset one time, the next time you go for the same preset, it's not going to take that long. So if we press insert right now, we are upscaling from 540p, okay? And this already looks much better than what the TSR solution was looking like. And we get over 130 FPS specific situations over here. And the game looks still super good, and basically it should be illegal to look that good at 540p. Like, my god, that looks amazing. Our frame rates are not that much better. Let me go up so I don't die again. But I mean, from an average of 110 FPS to 130 or 20, we're at 120 something over here, and the game is looking super nice. Huh. Even the surface of the sea on performance mode looks better than the native solution of the game. That's crazy. What about quality mode? We didn't test that in quality mode. I kind of forgot. Oh, that looks super crisp. That is nice. Oh, wow. Let's go back to performance. So our frame rates are not that much better, since on RDNA 3 and RDNA 2 especially, which is what I'm rocking, we get some hard diminishing returns the lower we go on the presets. But the average of 120 FPS is not half bad, basically. And we can even take a peek at the ultra performance preset we get access to now. And I think you're gonna be kind of amazed over here. So let me go back into the pod. So as you can see, 540p, you can see that on the bottom left, and we're upscaling to 1080p. So let's see what is gonna happen if we go to ultra performance. Again, the first time you switch to a preset, it's gonna take some time to apply, but just be patient. Boom, here we go. And look at that, 150, 146 FPS over here. The game still looks great, even though it is being upscaled from 360p. This is 640 by 360. That is genuinely impressive. That is so good. So yeah, just for funsies, we can do the water surface test over here. Still getting over 130 FPS. Some of the textures kind of get to look weird the further away we swim, but that is to be expected. It's like a 360p image. That is kind of insane. But the game looks super stable. There's no simmering, there's no aliasing. That is insane. Look at that. Yeah, the textures from a distance look pretty bad, but once we get up close, they look pretty decent. That is a lot better than the TSR solution, let me tell you that. That looks insanely better. But yeah, as you can see over here, in the distance, like, we can see some weirdness with the seaweeds and the corals over here, and the texture quality is not that great. But once we swim closer, that looks a lot better. This is insane for a 360p image. This is upscaled from 360p. That is crazy to me. Wow. And that is it. From TSR only with resolution drops, grain, shimmering, aliasing, to FSR4 with frame generation and over 100 FPS. Really smooth, no input lag. The difference is a night and day, and the game finally looks and runs the way it deserves to, basically. If this helped you unlock the full Subnautica 2 experience on your unsupported GPU, smash that like button, subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a GeekJ video. If you want to take it further, consider joining the GeekJ squad for early access and exclusive perks, or drop a super thanks if you're feeling generous, of course. Massive shout out to my channel architects, Paris STR, especially for the gift of Subnautica 2, and Kostas Dari. You will always remain legends. Drop your results in the comments below. What GPU are you running Subnautica 2 on, and did the FSR4 upgrade make any difference for your setup? And remember, I read every single one of your comments. So yeah, that's it guys. I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.